Now, let's move to the next part. And for shading this cylinder, I start from this circular surface of it, which would basically be the bottom or the top of it. I start from the circle, then very, very slowly, I keep the light in my work, but at the same time, I'm adding some more shades into it. See, my dear friends? For shading, I do not work with my B6 pencil right from the beginning. First, I use my normal pencil as much as I can, and I get the shadings out of it again as much as I can. And then, when I need a stronger darkness, I use my B6 or B8 pencil, or whatever number that you use. I mean, I switch to a darker pencil. For example, right now, I move to my B6 pencil, and right from here, I start dragging the darkness. I start creating it into my work and then dragging it toward the lighter side. So here we go. Okay. This area would be my work's light. This side would be lighter. Then I use my normal pencil in order to create a very light shade and a very light background for all of my work. Again, I emphasize on the fact that even on the lightest area of this model, you shouldn't just leave it white. You should shade it, but it should be very, very light, so it's almost white. So very slowly, from here, I start applying the darkness into my work, and I bring it to this side. I try to fade it. And this side, I mean, the right side is definitely darker because it's kind of going to the bottom and it's connecting the surface at the same time. So this side of my cylinder would be definitely darker. That's what I'm showing here right now. Again, I switch to my sketching pencil and I use it to apply even more darkness over here. But I'm also using layers of shadings on top of each other to increase my darkness here. Okay. Here it goes. I'll just continue. And I move on. Now, this was the shading of my cylinder. Now, let's start creating the shadows of these two objects on the surface. See, this surface is very dark. Therefore, the shadow of it, which is placed on the surface, should be definitely much more darker. This itself is dark, but this area, which is basically the shadow of this side on the floor or on the surface, would be the absolute darkness. This would be the shadow of my cube here. And the shadow of the cylinder is exactly the same way. And this shadow should be in the same direction. For example, my cylinder shadow cannot just come down from here. The direction of the shadows should be exactly the same because we have only one light source. So the direction of the shadows should be the same. I start from here again. There's just an absolute darkness here. It's just thicker in the beginning, and as it moves toward the end of the cylinder, it would be thinner, and also as it comes a bit outer from my work, it would get lighter. Just like this that you're watching now. Okay. Now, let's switch to the normal pencil and create the shades and cover the shades which I've already created with my B6 pencil in order to soften them and do not leave them rough shades. This covering the shades one more with a normal pencil would make your shades and shadows, whatever you're doing, softer and smoother, which is good for you because you're creating different textures and at the same time you don't want to leave any lines. Now, as I mentioned lines, for this area, in order to create a background for my work and also fade the lines of my cube, I bring some shadings out of these lines toward the background of the work. And I try to just spread the shadings toward the background. These are the lines that I told you how you should fade, you see. This is a lighter area, so I cannot do much about it, but I can actually fade them toward the background with my shading again. Because as I told you, the contrasts are the things that should separate your work and each part of your work from the other one. So here it goes. And now you can actually hatch it here, or you can do it more cohesively like our previous work. That depends on you. The background is not that important, how kind of shading you want to do for it or the method. It's on you. Just be careful that you fade your objects into it so you can show they're part of them and they are separated from them. So very easily and very softly, we could create our main shades. And if you generally look at your work, you can see no specific lines there. As I said, just the contrast of the colors would actually separate the different parts. So here it is. And also, at the same time, you can see the difference between the surface of the cylinder and the side of the cube. Again, with the contrast, they are separated. So this is one of the most important principles in our shading. I hope you've enjoyed it and you can use it as much